Welcome everyone to the Blueprint for Peace for Humanity. It's day 5. It's the morning session for Friday, July 7th, 2017. This is another presentation of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute, and we'll be listening to Mr. Keshe delivering today's teaching. And I understand we have a note from Carolina that informing everyone that we start the real first soul teaching, and through your soul you can, by uniting souls and intent, achieve peace. And it says first session is starting with the core members, and she says, my wish for mankind is for you all to be present, that as of tomorrow the uniting of the souls begins, or starts rather. Thanks, Carolina. Okay, so I think Mr. Keshe is ready to begin there. Hello, Mr. Keshe.
I think we lost him, Rick, just at the beginning there.
Oh, okay. Perhaps we'll have to wait a minute for Mr. Keshe to come back. I know he has several other things to present as well today, so we'll have a busy session, no doubt. So bear with us another minute or so while we reconnect with Mr. Keshe. Hello, Mr. Keshe.
Yes, I'm back, please.
Hey. Very good, thank you.
We're ready to go.
Okay, we're broadcasting, and I've already introduced the Blueprint for Peace in terms of what Carolina said with her wish for mankind to be present for the uniting of the souls starts. But you've got some other topics you'd like to talk about as well, I understand.
Yes, thank you very much for today. We might have some internet issues, but we're trying to sort it out. It's just that the technicians are working around it. Thank you very much as usual. Good day to you, good morning, wherever and whenever you listen to these teachings. As we said, we are on the path for peace, and with it, peace comes with the soul of the man and everything else. So what we got to do is to find peace in every aspect of the technology as we are. As you were aware, yesterday I addressed directly the situation which has risen at Ghana Atomic in respect to the director of Ghana Atomic Commission. We have respect for the organization with no problem. But after our presentation yesterday, the minister responsible for the atomic has gone, giving a direct interview, making certain comments which we have to put right. First of all, as part of his comment, he says they have checked and there is no nuclear engineering in Queen Mary College. A lot of you don't know, some of you do know. I am a nuclear physicist, I'm a nuclear engineer. Some of the elite scientists who've been trained by the British government in 1980s and 70s, at the same time trained for the Iranian nuclear centers to be opened up, which was planned during the Shah's regime. As we said, we have been asked this question and many people have raised it. I've asked for some papers to be found because when I received my degree, it came in a toilet roll. I hung it under the toilet roll in the toilet of the house, and my mother said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "This paper worth nothing because the knowledge is not in it what it should be." I got it because I was advised to, but for me, physics and plasma technology is different. We couldn't find a degree, so about 4 or 5 years ago, when we set up the Keshe Foundation Research and Development, BBBA, which is a limited company in Belgium, the Belgian authorities wanted the documents to be confirmed that I am a nuclear physicist, otherwise they won't issue and they won't allow the Research and Development, Keshe Foundation Research and Development, BBBA, to be opened. It took us some time. We managed to get the paper, and they wanted the original, so they kept it. So those who have a problem, if you are a nuclear physicist or not, they have to go back to the Belgian government or go back to Queen Mary College. What is insulting, there are a couple of things which I think the minister has to correct, is that, of course, there is no atomic and nuclear at the moment in Queen Mary College. I'll explain to you one by one. Rick, you have a paper from Queen Mary College. Could you put it up?
Okay, just
this
a minute.
is the paper in 1979 after the Iranian Revolution. In those days, we had to sign papers, government had to sign, the embassy has to sign papers that we could get funding from home, that we could pay for our expenses of living. This paper is confirming Queen Mary College that I am a 3-year nuclear engineer, studying nuclear engineering, not this one, the other one, please.
Oh.
And in that process, we used to take the papers back to our embassy. The Iranian embassy had to endorse it, that we could send it back home, that our parents could forward money, transfer money to amount which was allowed per student. So those of who say there was no nuclear engineering and there is no accusation of lying, please read this paper, go back to Queen Mary College, and we ask you to do one thing. Have you got it? It's the last text I sent you.
Yes, just a second here. I just have it in 2 places.
So
there it is.
My advice to the minister in charge in Ghana is, please, sir, check your facts. Unless there is a hidden agenda, this confirms directly from Queen Mary College, and it tells you, I read it for you. This is to certify that Mr. Mehran Tavakoli Keshe is a full-time registered student of the Queen Mary College, reading for the BSc Engineering degree of the University of London in the Department of Nuclear Engineering. The student commenced his course on the 2nd of 1978, and is expected to complete his studies in July 1981. Endorsement at that time after Revolution of Iran by Islamic Republic for the students, and on the other side signed by the Registry Office of the Queen Mary College, stamped on the letter of Queen Mary College. So my advice to you is, sir, withdraw allegations. The advisors to the minister advise as usual to the benefit of their pocket, and we'll send a copy of this directly to the President's office. The arrangements and meetings are taking place as we speak in Ghana to just give the facts that does not take root. On the other hand, there's a very interesting thing. If you look at this date, it says expected to be graduating in July 1981. In Queen Mary College, we are considered elite scientists when we graduated as nuclear physicists. So our final research wasn't just something to do. Our final research became the basis for the next scientists to work. We were the front runners of nuclear industry. Very few. If you go back and check the register of the university, something like 13 nuclear physicists were trained by Queen Mary, and 1 specialized in reactor system control, which I was one. And in that process, our work was more or less considered as a senior scientist. I have a lot of respect. In so many ways, I found pleasure to be as part of the Queen Mary College Nuclear Engineering Department through one man. I met the man across the table, interviewing me if he's going to accept me as a nuclear engineer, or he's going to accept me as nuclear reactor science technologist. I went to the interview, sat in front of the man. He asked me a few questions. He said to me, Mehran, you're a genius. I cannot choose which one I'm going to offer you. You choose which course, write back to me. You've got the course. I wrote back to him. I said, I want to be nuclear physicist. I want to be nuclear reactor design control. Just 1 second, please. And in that process, Professor Leslie became my mentor. He taught me a lot. I sat many times, one-to-one, him teaching me his research papers. In my 3rd year, I literally, 2 of my courses was him telling me, giving me the ethos of nuclear scientist. He said to me in my 2nd year, Mehran, there is a big problem. I want you to research. You've been 2 years on the nuclear reactor working with Dr. Shaw. Now, I want you to do something. I designed your project. You carry it out. I said, what is it? He said, you'll understand. One day you'll understand. But this is the way I want you to do this research. He said, we don't have anybody, and this is an important research for me. I understood as a 3rd-year student exactly what he meant. He said, I'm sending you somewhere to gain some more physical knowledge before you come back in for your 3rd year. He sent me to British nuclear field to work in British nuclear at the highest level. I still see the face of Professor Leslie, slim man, very calm, very serene. And he had an aura about him. He knew nuclear industry inside out. You see it in front of it. If you put the other paper out, this is by independent newspaper about Professor Leslie. Can you go to the top, please? Can you go to the top of this page? Rick, yes. I'll read to you what Independent says. Would you like to read it, Rick?
Sure. Okay, this is a obituary for Professor David Leslie. The top part says, David Clement Leslie, consultant engineer, born Australia, 18th December 1924. Staff, Sir W.G. Armstrong Whitworth Aircraft, Coventry, 1951 to 54. Guided Weapons Division, RAE Farnborough, 1954 to 58. UKAEA, Harwell and Winfrith, 1958 to 68. Professor of Nuclear Engineering, Queen Mary College, London, 1968 to 1984. Director, Turbulence Unit, 1975 to 1990. Senior Consultant, 1990 to 93. Dean, Faculty of Engineering, 1980 to 83. Safety Advisor to Local Authorities for the Sizewell Inquiry, 81 to 87. Married, 1952. Thea Wenborn, 3 sons, 2 daughters. Died, Great Missenden, Buckinghamshire, 27th of August, 1993. David Leslie worked in the aerospace and nuclear industries and made his greatest contributions in teaching and research, notably as director of the Turbulence Unit at Queen Mary and Westfield College, London, from 1975 to 1990. Leslie's love of physics and mathematics led him from Oxford University in 1950 to apply his considerable skills in the aerospace industry, first at Armstrong Whitworth, where he was responsible for aerodynamic design, and later at Farnborough. He was then attracted by the nuclear industry, which in the 50s was one of the newest and fastest growing high technology industries in the UK. He joined the United Kingdom Atomic Energy Authority, and his initial work at the Harwell and Winfrith laboratories in 1958 to 59 was in neutron physics, and in particular into how graphite moderated reactors, the then preferred British reactor system, should be designed for the efficient production of energy. He later led a theoretical thermal hydraulic program associated with the British design for a steam generating heavy water reactor system. Leslie believed passionately that nuclear power would enhance the quality of life and would benefit the environment. He worked on nuclear reactor safety cases and in then relatively new area of safety analysis. He was always fascinated by inherently complex physical phenomena and was keen to use his extensive mathematical and numerical skills to analyze them. He kept beautifully handwritten and indexed notebooks. Secretaries and typists had no problems in typing his manuscripts, although it was always a pleasure to read from his originals. It was while he was working for the Atomic Energy Authority that he developed an interest in turbulence, which he took with him when, in 1968, he left Winfrith to become the head of the nuclear engineering department at Queen Mary and Westfield College. Turbulence became his main area of research, and in 1973, he wrote what has now become a classic in this field, Developments in the Theory of Turbulence. Later in the 70s, he set up a research group, the Turbulence Unit, which was the first systematically to study the computer simulation of generic turbulence for the fast breeder reactor, mixing flows in the environment and turbulence behind wings of aircraft. The unit obtained funds from SERC, the Science and Engineering Research Council, the DTI and the MOD, as well as a number of industrial concerns. The unit still exists at QMWC and continues to work in areas pioneered by Leslie. A number of his students and co-workers have gone on to work in the similar areas at other institutes. Leslie contributed a great deal to QMWC, serving on numerous committees as well as becoming Dean of the Engineering faculty. He was an extraordinarily conscientious teacher, keen to ensure that his students were constantly encouraged and given whatever support he could provide. As one of his undergraduate tutees, I remember being in his office when he was carefully showing me how to obtain a solution to a differential equation. The telephone rang. He picked it up and said, "Will you please call me back in 15 minutes?" and put the receiver back. I must have looked puzzled because he turned to me and said, "I regard teaching as very important," and continued solving the differential equation. His family and religious belief provided him with great inner strength. He was a practicing Christian Scientist who gave his time freely to his church. He was a committed father who, even during the most demanding phase of his career, found time to read stories to each of his 5 children. Okay. So that's Professor David.
Now you
Leslie.
understand that many of my interviews and talks I speak about him. He taught us ethos of being correct in nuclear industry. And what is interesting, I find it insulting, a minister saying there is no department when a man like him put his life to teach. Dear Minister, please read, there was a nuclear engineering department. And I show you something else. Those who've been around me understand very clearly what happened. As you can read, can you show us the second page, please? The other paper I sent you. If you remember the first page we showed you with the endorsement of the Iranian embassy in London, it says, I graduated in 1981. One of the things which was a main concern for Professor Leslie was safety. And he, in detail, as an undergraduate, he explained to me his concern. He said, you've been in that reactor from the first week you came to university. I want you to do these tests. We had nuclear plates in the reactor. It wasn't what we call graphite. We could plate. We had aluminum plate, 95%, 97% enriched uranium, which is only for military and studies. He said there is a concern, and whatever you write at the end of your thesis will make a lot of decisions for me. He sent me, as I said, to BNFL, British Nuclear Fuel, to gather knowledge. And then when I wrote my thesis, I had to literally do twice a week, get a bus from Queen Mary to other side of my land, get into the nuclear site, get in the operating room, get on the floor, load up reactors to learn exactly how you load reactors and whatever, and then start making notes. But sometime in March, we became very clear we are sitting on a nuclear bomb. I said to Professor Leslie, I said to Dr. Shaw, does anybody know this? They said no. I explained to the professor, I'll switch table to another one. Can I share a screen?
Sorry? Did you say you want to share screen? Hello, Mr. Keshe?
Okay, I'm here. Those who've been around me, they know about what, and I've spoken about this many times. What we had to do, according to what Professor Leslie wanted, was to explore the problem. You have to remember, if in the background, please, Rick or anybody can find 3 Mile nuclear reactor, 3 Mile Island disaster. That was a fundamental point for all of us in nuclear industry in Britain. I explain more. What we did, we had a nuclear reactor. The control room is somewhere here. We load up, we move concrete bricks, and we load up plates in different configuration. We loaded high level radiation, low level radiation. What is assumed when the reactor was built was this phenomenon. What we actually, with loading, found out was disaster. Bigger peak outside. This was covering control room. Was some of it beyond the boundary of station. I said to Professor Leslie, we are in a big problem. He said, Mehran, you're right. I said, I give my thesis and I leave. He said, what is your recommendation? Shut down. We have to shut down. And then I said something else, because at BNFL, I was working on the aftermath to build a control room kilometers away, that if something like Fukushima happened, we had a remote control. I said to him, and Professor and Dr. Shaw, when I gave my thesis, I think nuclear industry is not safe in UK. He said, what do you think? I said, I'm a student, but 3 Mile Island happens in UK, we have to evacuate. I said, we've got the most powerful nuclear reactor sitting right in the center of London. This reactor you look at is right in Bow. This is Stanford, this is Mile End, Liverpool Street, all the banking system is here. All the other bits are here. This is Thames River. River going through was creating the cooling system. He said, what do you think? I said, I worked in BNFL. I walked out because I can't agree. But if what we had in 3 Mile Island happens here, and one of our major reactors go, we are all gone. We have to evacuate the nation. I left Queen Mary. Just 1 second, please. What it came back was my concern and many other scientists when we saw the 3 Mile Island. My advice as a nearly graduate, wanted nothing to do with nuclear industry, was Queen Mary College nuclear reactor has to shut down. The pig sits outside and we are killing our own controllers. I left, had nothing to do with it. Strange enough, when I saw the article from the minister in Ghana, I put on the internet looking for Professor Leslie to send to the minister that there was a nuclear and we shut it down. The most advanced nuclear nation, Britain, has never built a single reactor. The reason we stopped teaching in 1980s was of this reason here. We lost the reactor. We would not have a reactor. And at the same time, advice of the nuclear physicists to the government, abandoning nuclear technology. A small island cannot take a major disaster. I left, and what I came across, Rick, would you like to show the paper we just you were showing, please? Can you go back and share?
Yes, just a second. I'll have to find it here.
Can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me, Mr. Keshe?
Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, yeah. Can
you please bring the other paper up?
Okay, you want the, which one again?
The one which you said the commissioning with a lot of
communication. Right.
So, what, you can stop me sharing while I stop sharing. I never thought of it because that was me leaving a nuclear industry. Read this, what it says. Information released regarding, because now you can ask any information from the government. Government has to supply. This is the British law. It says information released regarding to the decontamination report of nuclear research reactor at Queen Mary College in London. Look at the dates. First letter dated September 1982. 1983, reactor went for decommissioning. The report and the consequence research showed reactor has to be shut down. And with that, Queen Mary College lost its atomic and nuclear department because there was no need when the government made a decision to stop the nuclear reactor and stop building nuclear reactors for energy to train anymore. Mr. Minister, that's why there is no nuclear reactor. Most leading nation in nuclear industry, one of the front runners of nuclear industry, has decided not to produce any more nuclear reactors. That's why there's not there. So the accusation you made you couldn't find, you should have asked your researchers to go through and check data. We are very correct. And this actually shows the power of my research and my work as a student at Queen Mary College and work with atomic, because if you can find on the internet, 3 Mile Island was a major accident. We were shutting British system, we went for PWRs, which is the American system, and with the PWR, this is what happened. Some radiation was released through channels which are not supposed to be and got contaminating the area, known as the 3 Mile Island disaster. So we see there it is, 3 Mile Island accident. The 3 Mile accident was caused by nuclear meltdown that occurred in March 28, 1979. In June, July 1979, I joined IAEA, British Nuclear Fuel Structure, and that was a priority for them. As a specialist by my second year, I was asked to take over. And if you go back in my interviews over years, you see now everything comes together, is exactly what we're telling you. So yesterday we saw the head of atomic saying that we don't have certificates. We showed we have. Now we see how it was accused that there is nothing there. I have been considered as one of the leading nuclear physicists, specialized in plasma system, and I have shown you. Those who want the degree, please go to Queen Mary College and ask for them and send a copy to the minister. We do not pick anything, but what is interesting, why suddenly the minister and the head of atomic have targeted Keshe Foundation? We know the reason. I'm keeping silent. But if any more attack comes on Keshe Foundation, we open the books. Our team in Ghana are considering such a move. I have asked them to withhold, but they are not really interested. They advised us about 2 months ago that there is going to be such a thing. Shall we take a preempt? I said no, we leave it to the justice of time. We don't do anything. But we have enough evidence that can be extremely not good, especially for those who sit in Vienna. I think those who understand understood the message. We are a peaceful organization. We went there to help, we went to organize. But what has become apparent by being told by the heads of the standard board is, you have brought an alternative technology into Ghana that makes atomic obsolete, so they have to stop you. They called Benjamin to tell him so. So they said, the standard board stands by you because we are all using it at our home. And it's correct, it works. That is why you got the certificate. Because we usually ask for tests. We have tens of them in the standard board management team in the house, and we have seen the reduction. It works, we give you the license by testing. So my advice to the minister is to retract the interview of yesterday, and I'll give you a tip. Dubai is the wrong place to put hidden finances. Mr. Minister, I'm much bigger to stand the threat and insult. I can open books at IEA. Do not forget, I'm a senior advisor, nuclear physicist, and we have a lot of clout in what we do. We are humble, we walk among the men in a very humble way, but I know exactly what's going on as a senior advisor in nuclear industry. Please retract both interviews, and at the same time, I know the press which are listening, we release the papers, is for the minister to decide. If any damage or any attack comes on Keshe Foundation facilities or any threat, we will release information, and then it will not be very nice for those who make the threats. We are a peaceful organization. You have made accusations one after another. We know the reason. That's your prerogative, it's your nation. We respect it. But understand, do not go too far. I am a senior nuclear physicist, and my papers say I've been there for more than you had a hot meal on your plate. 1981, 1991, 2001, 2011, 2017. 36 years at realms of nuclear industry, direct and indirect. This is an insult to a heart surgeon. I would like to know, has to be withdrawn. We make an official complaint to the Ghanaian government. My team in Ghana, we are together, we set it up, and then it has to be addressed. Now you understand why these attacks suddenly come up, because the systems are going in, and when you can make 80% saving, 50% saving, immediately 2 nuclear reactors go out of circulation. Ghana is negotiating to receive by 2029 the first nuclear reactors, and they're at preliminary stage. My advice has been, if a nation like Britain abandons nuclear technology so early in 70s, in 80s, And then what happened, what we came across in 1986, we had the Chernobyl, which blew nuclear material right across Europe. And in England, in Wales, we still have 100 farms since 1986 that they'll never be farmed, no ship will walk on it, and will stay like this at least for up to 200 years, some of them, because of the contamination. I love England. I spent 30 years of my life. I'm loyal to the British system, the same as I'm loyal to my government in Iran. Every British citizen is part of my life. I accepted to become a nuclear physicist to protect, to guarantee life, not to kill life. But when I see accusation of an incompetent man, we have to put it on the table. What I advise the Ghanaian press who are looking, please walk into the 2 buildings of Ghana Atomic Commission and look. IAEA officers, they call it the bat office. No Ghanaian person is aware of that. These 2 buildings, which are supposedly heavily beautiful, are totally demolished inside. Tramps live in nuclear center in atomic. There are pictures. The president has never been taken to see, nor even the ministers. When I took the lawyer of the atomic to see them, he says, Mr. Keshe, this is not 50 meters away from my office. We never knew this. There is a massive cover-up in Ghana Atomic. Please, Your Excellency, President Nana, asked to see all the buildings of the atomic. Derelict, money is squandered, there is nothing left. I had to pay for every test for the materials. We take the challenge. If my factory is touched, or my office, my staff touched, we have no problem. We have certificate, we go somewhere else. But it has to be correct. Do not attack people who are loyal to your country, bring job, bring prosperity. And the gentleman from the press who's listening, please ask with bunch of press, when you go through the Ghana Atomic, the big reactor building, you see, we can see it from the street, walk in there. Is a heap 2 meters high with rubbles. As you go on the right hand side, you see the long offices, walk in the back. Termites have built a 2 meter high nest in there. Ghana Atomic needs reorganization, we agree. But Ghana Atomic has to be correct to the people who are loyal to it too. Minister, please withdraw this. I respect you. I've had lunch with you. I've had meeting with you. We have brought prosperity and jobs. Please do not try to discredit us. Queen Mary College was a nuclear teaching center. We've seen the man who's headed it. We've seen the decommissioning. We've seen those who had doubts and created doubts that it's never been. Now they can see endorsed by 2 university and a government embassy. This is how the souls operate. My staff in Ghana are at this moment looking at what's the next step. We have received the letter to leave by September. We are organizing it. We'll leave the premises because it was too small and the land given to us had no license to be given. My senior manager, Benjamin, he's a scientist, and his CV shows he went for a job at Atomic Energy Commission in Vienna. He was one of the top 2 left to be selected, but as a Ghanaian, he would not be accepted. So he's a senior in his job and his position. He's the most talented person I know, and he's the most loyal person to Ghana I know. So, we come back to those who thought they have a thriving time in past 1 hour. You got your shot against your bow again. Try to intimidate, we release data and information. Is on there. The minister's advisors advising wrong. he has to reorganize himself. The water we produce is certified as water, we sell it as water. It's the people who are using it the way they want for what they see. And at the same time, those who have used it the way they want and what effect they've seen, they would like the government to allow the research that confirms all of it. Letters have been sent to FDA and letters have been sent to standards, and the standard flatly refused the letter from the atomic because they say we have certified it, it works, it's correct in what it says. And the same with our waters. This all has come because you have to understand, because of all these slanders and everything else which has been sent in by Mr. Lawrence and his team, and they thought they score. Every time they try to do something, they create more mayhem for themselves. They are just getting discredited everywhere. And very soon, we'll discredit them in somewhere else, you will see. They thought they had the upper hand. Now, yesterday and today, we've seen how with their lies have made a liar out of a government. And now government understand exactly what is dealing with them. Our people will release these papers directly to the press in Ghana and to the office of the president. Ghana's president motto was one factory, one district, and his inauguration, and attracting investment into Ghana to support, create new sciences. We have met all criteria. The minister has decided to listen to a bunch of bandits outside, letting the white man rule the country. The position of the minister is unattainable. We ask for the resignation of the minister and we supply enough papers. I would like to give you an advice, Minister. Airport is the wrong place to meet a returning commissioner. I hope you got the message. And Mr. BJB, Dubai is the wrong place to travel for the weekend. Please do not push, and please stop retracting. All the things you've done has to be retracted. All your allegations has to be retracted. And in my next teachings, if we see another attack or any more problems, we give directions to where to find a lot of things. Your Excellency President Nana, you're the head of the nation. You are making decisions on the future of the nuclear industry of your country. Please go to the atomic and walk into the building of the atomic. Buildings are derelict. Nobody can work because they're not safe to work.
Hello, Mr. Keshe. Still there?
We are back again, sorry about that. So, what my advice is to the Ghanaian government, Your Excellency President Nana, we did not ask for anything. We got attacked and we stayed in the offices and buildings of Atomic, and we said we bring enough cash as part of your shareholding that all the buildings can be renovated. They have not been touched since 1965. We are investors in the country. We stay loyal, as all our staff are highly educated people, and I love working in Africa. As I said yesterday, we are exporting out of Africa into Europe, and should be the same. The power unit, which is supposed to be, he says, I don't know if it works. Yes, it does, because it's certified by the Office of Government, which is independent from any ministers, and they have issued certification for it. The water system does is a water pure, and it's the people who decide what it does. We do not promote anything but pure water. It's been tested, and the new factory will go into supplying the whole of West Africa. We have, and we are transferring huge sums of money to see Ghana will reach the pinnacle of science. I ask for two things. First is the retraction of the accusation and the slander. And secondly, everything which has been said about Keshe Foundation has to be withdrawn by the minister. My officers and our supporters in Ghana will release the information into Ghanaian public. Not us. We said we don't want to take part, but they say it has to be known. We knew such attack was set up by us, by the members of the government who were inside. We said we do not move. I would like to know what would be the next step. Discrediting the discreditors or huge bank accounts hidden in foreign national offices. Now you see how the soul of the man plays the life of the man. I am loyal to the nation of Ghana and will bring our business in. We carry on with our work and we expand that Ghana become the center of the Keshe Foundation for the whole of West Africa. We create another 400 to 600 jobs by Christmas. It's all going through. And the nation can afford and accept such a gift from for his citizens and for its nationals and for the country. Thank you very much. We have asked the Ghanaian team to listen to this teaching at this moment, that they know exactly what defense line they have to take in Ghana. They say they want to leave. We leave by the 15th of September, as we have agreed. This is the mayhem created by Mr. Lawrence and his team. They made hundreds of calls and accusations, and they made them to believe, and they gave them the carrot and the rope. So now we see 4 terrorists are terrorizing everywhere. It's good for us because it gives us a path of expansion in a massive way. In a massive way. As I said in my talk yesterday, we have learned a lot in Ghana. We'll pass the information and knowledge more to the Ghanaians because it's them who are caring for the country. And then we go to China. When we go to China, we deal with the power units, and the space technology will be delivered to the Chinese people. This is the promise we made and we keep. And with it, we'll release huge number of new technologies. You have to understand something. I start teaching about the soul of the man. So I know all the physicality which a man needs to go to reach the point of maturity. So I know what needs to be done and what needs to be given, and where it needs to be given. It has to be said that we work strictly within the structure of the laws and strictly within the working of the laws. The laws comes from the soul of the man. A lot of people in the past week have seen a lot of problem with this teaching, because now they expect soul, they expect peace, and they don't know where to go. We've seen this mayhem 2 years, 3 years ago, as I repeated before, when we went from the gas into GANs, and then we went again from the GANs to the fields of the GANs. There is something which I think we have to clear, very, very clear, very, very nicely if we can keep it clear. And that is, how can it be said? How can we explain it in a different way? Can I share the screen, please? This is something I think we all have to understand. If you consider the rays coming from the center of the universe, these fields go to the point that at some point they become slow enough in respect to the environment to manifest themselves as matter. Then when they become matter, they follow the same process as here. Here we have gravitational magnetic field decay. Here, when it becomes matter, we have radiation decay or half-life. In fact, it's the same thing, but now that it's solidified, it has to show itself. So now it starts a new life, again back as field. And then at the lower strength, it becomes another matter state. So if you look at it, this is the cycle of life. This is the cycle of existence. And man has a problem to understand this. And it's amazing how man has made such a fundamental mistake or lack of understanding that this process continuously carries on at the lower and the lower at the lower strength as you move away from central line of the universe. You can call this universe, you can call this a galaxy, you can call this the solar system, you can call this the human body. And then they cannot be any different. What is next? What is the gray area? So, how did decay when you became man? You have to gather energy. Then you find a soul, which is the center of it. And then it's the soul which leads to the creation of, in time, another life. This is the story of existence. So, in fact, if you look at it here, and if I make you a man here, the essence of man was here too. So shall be here. Every time it solidifies, makes a planet, makes a matter state, then the matter, because it's gravitational magnetic field, it has to radiate, it goes through its decay. But in that process of decay and amalgamation, with the dynamic condition, creates the soul of the man. Then by itself, it makes the physicality of the man. Now we understand. The soul of the man is not above the man, but the soul of the man is inside the man. This is where the energy will come and lead to another cycle of life. This is why You are told continuously be good, do good, because what the field you create here will lead to creation and the generation of other fields and more of the same and the same. Till what we see, the return to the origin. What you see on earth, we have clouds. The water particles go up and rain back down. This is the center of the universe, galaxy. So what we see with the spinal cord, which goes the same and it comes back down. We see the same with the central line of the universe. This time, this was the solar systems. This time was a raindrop. This time here are galaxies. Now you see the whole process is completely the same in whatever shape or form you look at it. When it slows down enough, it shall return to the Creator. I made man and life of the man in the image of myself. The operation of the soul, the operation of the existence, the operation of life on this planet is no different than any other position. Unless man wants to say, I am different. And with that, thinking he's different falls in the pattern of the past. I give you 1 minute to contemplate. We give a minute silence. I give you 1 minute to contemplate and understand. What is the soul of the man? It's the amalgamation of the whole cycle to get where it is. And once it goes back, it comes back up again like a rain, which becomes steam and radiates out. What do we understand? Where do we go and what do we decide to do? How do we now explain the soul of the man? Or how we try to come with every possible means to confirm our own lack of understanding and knowledge of the creation up to now. Man is created from the turbulence of the fields of the universe in collection of the memory of its repetition, which is what we call DNA and RNA. The question to ask from this present scientific world is, now that we understand and we see what's on the screen here, does RNA carries the field information of the totality of the past? Because it's field dependent, not matter dependent, and it carries on. Do we carry in RNA what they never understood? They called it the junk pieces of the DNA, and the rest is actually the memory of the history of life of the man in other dimensions. If you haven't found the answer by now, I give you one question mark to put there. Now we understand more and more, and with understanding more, as has been said, we don't become a sect, or we don't become a guru, or we don't become anything else. We become knowledgeable in the science of creation. To what extent we accept the fact is important. What extent we comprehend the reality is important. Many of you have started making doubts, and because you've been led by those who want to make doubts because they lose their position, we've seen with the ministers and the rest how they created doubts in it, and now it has become a big problem. Is the problem becomes yours because while you're busy solving a problem which didn't exist, they can abuse you. We don't become a sect, we don't become a cult, we become the school of knowledge of understanding of the creation. This is what it is, this is what is going to be at the end of it. Those who understand now will make the advantage of it. Those who don't understand, they have no choice, they can ignore it, but their children will become wise. A father can claim man never been to the moon, but unfortunately he makes a very big mistake. He educates his son, then he becomes an astronaut and he goes to the moon, says no, you've never been there because I don't believe in it. It doesn't work. We've seen many parents spending money and the children pick up subject of studies that the father always objected and in non-existence, but the son studies to prove to the son that it actually exists. It's your lack of understanding and knowledge which has made you blind. We are on the same path. Now, we have said we are going to the essence of the soul. Why do we have a soul? How our soul creation and control leads to us? Because that's all it is. You were happy, extremely happy. Rick, do you have one of your first cores where it was dynamic with a hollow air in it? Can you find it?
You mean not the ping pong ball, but something else? You mean like a
the transparent one? Yeah.
Let me see if I can find a picture of that.
If you can find it, or any of the team in the background can find those, show it and then we understand it. If you put a dynamic ball there, and somebody else would have put another dynamic ball there, and the two came together, and there was a third dynamic ball which becomes now the soul of the interaction of the two, you'll get physicality condition. Peter Stock from Austria has shown it by creation of different matters. In fact, that's all it is. The two reactors next to each other, dynamic, they are like a sperm and an egg. The third reactor which you put in there It's like the fields from the field, the womb of the mother, the liquid of the mother, and you see what is sent and what was gathered and was created. You have seen, we all have seen the process of the creation, but because it touches us, we have to deny it, because then we say, my God, we've been there so long, we've done it, and we said it doesn't exist, now I have to accept it. You deny it, your child will not, your grandchild will not, because it'll be grown up with it. How many of you refused to learn to work with computers when you were young, when it came out, when you were in early children's age? Now, we become a lot computer illiterate, but it hasn't stopped the growth of the computers. And your son, your grandchildren are visiting it, and they're computer engineers and scientists and the rest of it. Your denial of not accepting learning has not stopped the next generation to walk. I listened with a lot of pleasure, with a lot of joy, because I was there, I saw it happening. Now years later, when Caroline speaks about it, it brings so much joy to me. She's the only grandmother who plays computer better than the children. She's actually telling them when they have a problem. I could watch her, I wouldn't do it. I don't play computer game because to me, I didn't have the patience for it. But she sits in her 50s, teaches our children games. She did not stop with the time, she went with the time. Denying what is on the table, now we understand, does not put it on the carpet. You want to learn how to play all sorts of computer games, there's a grandmother I know. And with it, because she accepted it, our children just walk through the game, walk through the computer. Age of 2, 2.5, they sit and play. Now they are masters in it. So is other children. With us not learning computer game, it did not stop them. Moving on. Did not stop them developing. Now you can see the problem. Now we can see the extent of the problems.
Trying to find some pictures, but they're earlier than what I have in my photos right now. So I'll just keep looking here.
It is very interesting in how we decide to deny, and then when it comes, we immediately listen to the others which are there because they don't want you to listen and do. It is important for us to independently judge our own understanding. There's one thing good about the Baha'i faith, it says independent investigation. The Baha'i faith is the only faith. Just because your mother was a Christian, your father was a Muslim, you don't become one. You have to investigate at the age of 15 to sign yourself, and then at the age of 18 to sign yourself again, otherwise you're not a Baha'i. Independent investigation means standing outside and see, what does it bring me? What do I benefit by it? Would it change anything for me in development of my knowledge, my soul, and my behavior? So those of you who have a problem with this technology, you have a problem with the creation of your own existence, there is definitely some investigation is needed by you and nobody else. The essence of the creation of the soul of the man, when it's correct, brings a correct conduct. You have seen in past 2 weeks, because we are correct, how we stand resolute, how we stand to disclose information rapidly. Otherwise we would have been hiding and ducking from all these accusations. Otherwise we should not, under no circumstances, carry on with anything. How far are we going to go? Sometimes when you put the time of silence, you will understand. Sometimes when we have to look at the facts, it's so startling right in front of you. Can you run this please? Rick? This is running.
I can leave the sound off if that's okay, and just do the video part. It just shows the tube in the middle of the sphere. Is that okay, or do you want the sound?
Yes,
the sounds...
we want to see that. It's okay. It's this creation of the ball in the center. Those videos we are interested in. You see, this is a full bottle, and you see how suddenly things are created, and then at certain speed they gather and they become a whole, a ball in the middle. The ball is still full, it's not empty. And now you see gradually it becomes one central ball. Can you show us when it becomes a ball? Can you go forward?
It starts to suddenly form. It forms the tube when the ball's sideways. Actually, when it rotates, see, it's starting to form the tube there now.
Yeah, it's full. Nothing has changed. These are all gas waters. It's not a normal water. And then you see how, if you turn it, it becomes suddenly a hole in the middle. You see, it becomes solid. The solid, hollow center. That's like a central line of the universe. That's the soul of the universe, if you want to call it. And then, with a human body, as you have other things in it and rotates and absorbs energy from the environment, it suddenly becomes a hole in the middle.
Can you find the other tubes with a hole, please? Rick?
Okay, I'll have a look for that. If anybody else has one that they can show. Do you mean
Yes.
with the GANS rings or just with the
Yes, with the
hollow?
GANs,
Mhm.
which is the soul in the middle. This is why we thought so much. This is why we went through so much. Because you could see it in physical, but you were only interested in some things. But now the knowledge of 3, 4 or 5 years comes together, and then it shows how your soul is made. That ball has no air in it. That ball has nothing else in it except gas water. But what it does, the gravitational magnetic field of all the gases come together and create a central ball. How many times we have seen people full ball, they rotated the extreme strength, speed high. You never see the ball in the middle. Only happens when the material carries gravitational magnetic field, or what we call the GANs coming from the matter state. This is how, if you understand, and in the next video you see, it comes in the center. It doesn't go sitting outside. It's not a bubble somewhere else. So where else does your soul has to go? But in this environment you see a box around it. In the other environment you see how the fields are created because it's got a GANs material in it. Because your sperm and the egg of the mother coming together has that GANs. Here there is no GANs. There is just the water of the GANs. When you have the GANs, which is that mass which came, that whitish thing you call the sperm of the man, which the egg is in it, and it carries it and it got that liquidish GANs in it, then it creates a hollow center. It's a copy of the creation of the man. Do you want to deny it? Make a GAN system, put in a spring ball, cost you less than $5, you see the creation of your own soul. Then deny it. You see, in a few minutes, years of research, years of work can be put on the table to correct things and put everything in perspective. Nobody could imagine I keep a letter from 35 years ago to show today to discredit the minister. That letter is 35 years old. The water in this is 35 million years old. You see the water, no GANs in it. Now let Rick show you, and many of you, these are your videos, these are not mine, there's no magic. Then you see when you put the GANs, the material come together in one, when the egg enters the sperm, enters the egg, and then with the dynamism plus the fields coming, the division comes, and you see the center of the man.
I'm going to have to look in my earlier videos. I'm not. Oh, here's one from a picture from Justin Smith. Doesn't really show it properly, but I'll show the picture anyway.
Can you come up?
Shows the idea. It's not a video, it's just a picture, and it's of a twin core, and we can't see the center, so it's not very indicative. Let me keep looking here. I'll try to find a video that's better.
Yeah. You see, it's more or less like this. It comes, we see it, we find it next week, we show it because these teachings are going on. So now you understand and you see how we as entities We come from a cycle of changes over changes, division, matter state, and this is the process we need to carry on. This is the process we need to understand. This is what we as a human race have to carry on. It's not that we don't want to be part of it, we want to be all of it. But we have to understand, if we look in every aspect of the life, it has a beauty of its own. It has a cycle of its own. It has a process of development of its own. So, what is the problem? And how can we overcome these prejudices? It's us who decides, and it's us who can elevate our own soul. Those who did, very few people did, added more fields from outside to inside, and they saw the changes in the size of the hollow center. There's a microphone on, please. Now you see, the guy speaks about the soul. The guy has gone into the soul business. Now we came to be engineers and doing this because that was the only way I could bring you to understand. Because now if you understand the operation of the soul and the elevation of the soul, then you can stop the war. One cannot be without the other. When you're hungry, you go for the food. When it's not there, somebody else has it. You ask for it, doesn't give it because you're hungry. We fight for it. It's got to be a point that I don't need your food. I can take from the space of the universe. The whole understanding is becoming more and more clear. But now comes to a point, what we spoke just a few seconds ago. I said, if you could add more energy from another dynamic reactor to the one you have, you will see the center will grow. The gap increases. The diameter of the soul increases. Or you will see the complete retraction and very small, but the physicality increases, but the center becomes very compressed and very powerful because it gets squeezed in, all the surplus has gone, and so the center becomes very powerful. Do you want to show this, Rick?
That's just an image. It's not a video, actually. I think Chandra sent that along. I'm still trying to find some videos, but I've been distracted in the background here. So bear with me a few minutes here.
No problem. We have enough time next week. But if you find it, those who did the test and you see a hollow ball in the middle, send them to Rick. We show it. We show the creation of the soul when there is a gas, or what we call gases nano state, which is part of the liquid of the body of the man, transferred from the man to woman to the sperm, and in combination make life. How hard is this to understand?
is the hardness of it is so simple. If we say it's hard, then we can get away with it by our stupidity of the past or our ignorance of not understanding. The question and the most important is, none of us is wrong. We are all correct. We never understood gravity. If we would have understood gravity and then would have understood it and analyzed it, we all would have come to this thousands of years ago. Just because somebody said we don't understand gravity, we all accepted we don't understand. So, voila. This has become a fashion. So one body says nobody can understand quantum physics, everybody says there's nothing. Oh, quantum physics is very hard to understand. The most rubbish thing God ever created was a quantum physics. Because if you understand it, you understand it's nothing but a pack of lies. Thermodynamic law, second law and the first law, throw them in the bin. Those who understand, they understand exactly what rubbish has been written. Somebody wanted to become famous. This is the problem. Now that we open the door for you to see your own, the method of your own creation, we don't say it is you. Because it's, at the moment there's a study, if it's me, oh, this is very simple. We put a ball like this, you can see the ball, maybe in the future, except this is how it's created, this is where my soul is, and because my soul is there, I can get from that one to expand, or I put the more material tighter on it and I squeeze it to the little dot in the center of my body. The more I take from it, the more dense the strength I come. Can I share the screen, please? Sorry, I moved between two different screens. Now I show you exactly why your soul is what is your soul is. All of you know my friend.
Mr. Keshe, you check your mic, please.
My mic is there, it's correct. You got a feedback.
No, we've lost the volume on your mic, like it became disconnected or it's long distance.
Yeah, can you hear me now? Is it better? Hello, is it better?
I think so, yeah.
Rick?
Yes, go ahead. It's good now, Mr. Keshe.
Yeah, okay, because I switched between one and the other one. There's a humming noise. Let's get rid of it. Might be in lights.
It sounds good from your end there.
Systems fall out very rapidly from one to the other today. When I get the other screen back on, I show you exactly what I mean. You will understand. We are back again. Let it settle. Then I show you something very, very interesting. Just 1 second, please. Okay, I hope we find a stability this time on the system. Now I'm gonna go back sharing and you'll be very interested. I think it'll be interesting for those of you who've been looking for a lot of excuses. You remember this of the plasma? Now I'm going to be very, very tight. I'm a very bad drawer. What happens when I do this to it? Or what happened when I do this to it? What I've done, I have taken the weakest energy levels of the plasma away. So what is left is the strongest in the middle. Very tiny, but the most powerful part of the soul. Now you understand why your soul is so powerful. Because the structure of the physicality of the man, by putting the brain and body on it, has taken all the weak away. They absorb all the small and weaker fields. So that's why your soul is so concentrated. It's the structure of your physicality which has forced the position of the soul. You are using everything which is in the plasma sphere. If you look at it, if I can redraw it again.
Now you see how things change. Now you understand why your soul is in the center. It's the same plasma. With the structure of the brain we put on it, with the structure of the physicality we put on it, we corner it, we take all the weak parts out. We take everything of what it was there out of it. Because if you remember, if you go back to the reality, what we talked originally about, is very simple. What you had was this. I have to change the color because then you can see better. What you had was this. Do you remember this? This was the hydrogen. This was copper. This was gold. This was plutonium. And now, through the way you have chosen, by placing your brain in it, you have taken everything else outside out. And then what you got left with is this little chap inside. This part of it, of a higher strength, you called emotion. And this part of it, you're giving it a shape, you call it the physicality and the rest of it. But in essence, now that you have stripped the whole thing out the way you wanted it, there's left nothing, no space but soul in the middle. That's why it's so small in the middle. This sits right in the center, and that's where it is. What do you want me to do with it? If you don't understand it, who else can? How much more easier I can put it. And then what happens is the term of the physicality we don't understand. Now you understand why the soul of the man is in the center. Why it happened there? We're taking all the surplus out. We're taking the lower level energy out. So only the strongest is left in the middle. Now you understand, even when I chose the picture of plasma 3-4 years ago, now you see the reason. It's the same with the galaxy.
It's the same with the solar system. The center sits the sun, the center sits the soul of the man, the center sits the soul of the galaxy, and the center of it is the center of the universe. And because you have materials which are gravitational magnetically connected together, it has to be a spherical shape. When you look at the brain of the man in the MRI, you see the behavior of how much energy is absorbed from the soul to that point and what it's supposed to do. And then you understand one point. If you can free the higher energy at the boundary of this black hole, you can cross, because it's so strong, it crosses the whole brain and it becomes a new sphere of itself. It becomes a shell of itself. And if you can expand it more, it becomes a craft. So many people can come in which are of the same strength. They become like your brain. They become like exactly what you thought is impossible. And then if you do that and you carry the strength of the peaceful mind, peaceful soul, what's going to do to you? Not much. This was the soul we left in the center. Now that you have gone and strengthened it, or you released the strength of the higher order from it, because the brain, your brain has taken all the surplus out, whatever it was, and your body is using it for whatever it needs, then you see what happens. If you release this field, the outer boundary field, if you release the outer boundary field, which is much stronger than these points, now you can go beyond. And if you can increase it, even the release of it more, then you can make a tent where here you had the brain, here you can have passengers which fit into your strength. Now you can see how you make a life out of it. Now we understand. Now we go a step further in the knowledge. So if this sphere you have created, that the other's strength can be part of it, you can change because of their same strength as you are covering their inside. You become a man of peace and you make the others to walk the path of peace, because now it's your field, your emotion, your understanding of the peace, which pushes in a way the boundary of your own soul, and it can reach the others. Now you see how simple it is.
Now you understand the simplicity of it. It is important for us to understand how everything now is connected to each other. Now we understand how all the things are connected to each other. This is how we understand when you have a peaceful soul, when you understand the power of your soul, then you understand the peace comes with it. This is the problem. This is what we need to understand. This is how you create steps of peace. Because now the only problem for you left is what are we going to do with the new knowledge? The other point for you is simpler. Much more simpler. One other addition which is important for you is, okay, I understand this, but where am I going to get the energy from? Where am I going to get what I'm supposed to get, to give? Where is my energy? How do I expand this? Where do I come? Now man has to learn this. To create a flow in the plasma of the soul of the man. How do we attract the fields which are there for us to have without taking from another? In the physical life, we eat another animal, be it vertical, be it horizontal, be it in the fish, in the water. How can we change this? That by feeding our soul feeds our physicality. We don't need to touch anything else. We don't need to kill. Because once we start feeding ourselves and understanding that we don't need to kill, there will be no soldiers, there will be peace. But this is not a way to do it. We have to learn a method initially. Don't come back to me and say, oh, you said this way we get the energy, we got it, now what's next, where we're going to go? You have to learn how much energy you take, why you take it, and the reason you take it, and what purpose it's going to serve. It's exactly what I said yesterday. All of you made all these ganses, everything, million different type of it. So what? We made it, what are we going to do with it? Two choices. Throw it away, or watch and wait. You learn the technique. If it becomes necessary, you use it. I was explaining this some time ago. What I've thought is like you go in your cupboard in the kitchen. You have all the spices, Indian, Chinese, Thai, African. God knows, from every corner of the world. Do you use them every time, put everything in the pot?
Or when you want to make Indian food, you take the Indian spices. When you want to make African food, you take the African spices. You don't mix the spice of Africa with Italian pizza and the rest of it doesn't work, and then it becomes horrible. It's the same. I have taught you how to make all the recipes. And many of you have come and taught us how different spices of knowledge you brought in. It's you who have to understand when is needed and what is needed for, and how you can use the understanding of it, but not necessarily the material of it. So, you made all these ganses, you made all these nanomaterial, you made all the cores. What do you want to do with it? Understand it, you can do it. You don't use the ganses every day. You're not sick. What do you want to make yourself sick? Do something else and then come and use them. As I said to a guy, go and chop your finger and then use the nanomaterial device and see if it grows. That's your decision. Many scientists have done that. They invented something and they use themselves as a guinea pig to show they can do it. I teach you and I've taught you a spectrum of knowledge. Now, I brought you to show that what I've taught you in past years can be done through your own body, your own center of forces you call the soul of the man. If you accepted the knowledge that as the sun came, it went out and it came back on itself, and in the center it sits like this, and then on the process of coming back up and down, it happened to make Earth, Mars, and everything else. Look, is there any difference between your soul and the center? No. How come you can accept this, but when it comes to this, because you've been ignorant of it, now you have to object to it? So, if the sun can absorb fields from different galaxies and different environments to expand, to increase its expansion or whatever, so can man. The sun has a soul, the same as the man, but it has fixed itself to the bigger structure. Now our solar system is an atom in the structure of a giant, where our cell is in the structure of a man. It's no difference. When you look at the structure of the galaxies and universes, all these stars in there are there to create a creature, an entity. We have to chosen to call it a galaxy. Nobody else in the universe calls it. But when you look at its operation, it's alive, it moves, it has a meaning. How come when it comes to you, it doesn't exist? When it's out there, it exists. Have you become all rabbis? Or the priests or mullahs? They go to the top of the, what do you call it, the stand, and they say, be generous and give as much as you can. They go home, they say, the wife, where is the food? Says, oh, I give it. Says, why did you give it away? I told them to come and give it to me, but not for you to give out. When it comes to you, you have to put a resistance, because then I've been ignorant of my own existence. We all have made this mistake, and we're all putting it right together. There is nothing wrong with it being educated together. Nobody is the enemy of other. None of you knew till 3 or 4 years ago. None of you, even till 6 months ago, could see how the net was set for you to accept the presence of your own soul. So we are all in it. We are all understanding the structure from the beginning, adding to the knowledge we already have. Nobody is lower and nobody is higher, and nobody has created a cult because one cannot understand or does not want to understand, or by creating this world they get attention. I was talking to Armin this morning. I said to him, if I explain to you something very interesting, do you know
Every man, every woman, every existence is the most ADHD, hyperactivity, attention deficiency. We are looking for the most highest point of getting attention to ourselves. And we get involved at that point of getting attention, that we get pleased, the highest, most fastest, or whatever hyperactivity. In which part of your life you are most selfish, and in which part of your life is the most important thing to get to it, as in any shape or form you become hyperactive. If you're a man, if you're a woman, if you've been married, if you ever made love to your partner, it's the time when you reach the pinnacle. Me to be satisfied is the most important thing. I need the more action, and because of it, I become very hyper. We have become animals of attention seeking. We can't get it, we make it hyperactive. So, what is the essence of creation? Why only the others are, we are not? You never looked at lovemaking this way, did you? Men are, human beings are the most self-centered, attention seeking when they are in that point, because then I can make the child. I can create that point. Think about it. Rick, have you found the video?
No, Mr. Keshe, I can't find any of my earlier videos right now that have that.
Do you? It's nearly 6 o'clock. We'll take a 4 or 5 minutes break. And let's think. You wanted your 1 minute break. Think about what I said. And then you all understand. That self point of attention seeking is the feeding of the soul of the man. I'll give you a hint. We come back in 3 or 4 minutes. Please think about it, because it's important. Otherwise, we are wasting our time in learning. Because if we learn this, then we can go to the process of peace.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Keshe. We'll take a 5-minute break here and be back after that. You can see on the screen, we'll have the countdown available so people know.
Can we start? Hi, Rick. Your 5 minutes is over. Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Mr. Keshe.
Okay. Now we go back to what we started, where we started. How do we work and how do we gather things together? How can we make the use of this new gain knowledge for a piece of humanity? Or do we go and fight it? We can fight 1 generation, 2 generation, the 3rd generation gets fed up because they understand it. This is the knowledge of creation. We cannot put it under the carpet. Or we can collectively understand it and go out and teach it. Go out and say we know what the soul of the man is and understand this knowledge fully and teach. Or use the other method which doesn't need any language. I just showed it on the screen. Extend the soul of the man beyond the boundary of the man that he can enlighten the totality of humanity. Very few people have managed to do that. Even them have taken a long time. Christ is one. The point is, this knowledge, this understanding, this knowledge is so fundamental that it cannot be abused. There is no way anyone can abuse this technology. There is no one who can abuse this knowledge. Because, as I showed you from the first teachings, when you put the 2 magnets together, where they are happy, they position themselves. To what extent we accept to use this knowledge for advancement of humanity, which means that advancement doesn't come by a computer and jet engine. It comes by accommodating another soul, understanding and operating through that. It's us who has to come to understand what we want from this life, what we are prepared to put into it and what we are prepared to take out of it. It's us who has to push the limit of the knowledge of ourselves. Up to now, I wanted a food, I put my hand out, I've got a chicken, I killed a cow, I took a bird, I killed a fish. Now I have the hand and the knowledge. Do I put out the same hand out to capture the energies of the universe, that it feeds me, that I do not need to end another life, a logical, sequential operation of existence that can repeat itself? The reality is, how do we expand? The reality is, to what extent we expand. our own knowledge. Are we prepared to put the same hand out which killed the animal, now to put the same hand out to capture free energies in the universe, in our environment, and feed another man with it till he learns? This goes back to what I said. Arms to feed, not arms to kill. We've done enough of arm putting out and killing something else. Now is it time for us to put the hand out to feed another man without killing something else? Now you understand how peace becomes part of the structure of the soul. Because if you understand the limitation and you understand the forces of your life, then it's very easy. The arm to kill becomes arm to feed. It becomes the arm to peace. Have you ever thought what shock goes through the body of that chicken when you want to kill? What fear you put through him? I've got somebody who might tell you this. If I see her, I will call her. Is Stefania here? Does anybody see Stefania in the background?
Yes, I'm here.
Stefania, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know how that noise bothers you or bothered you? I don't want to explain anything, just the emotion. Yes?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, even. Do I have to explain the emotion?
Yes, nothing else. How it came and what it was. Nothing else. How did it come about? Explain to us the physicality of it. Because I watched it going through a horrible time.
You mean in the night? What I was hearing?
Yes, with the ducks.
Yeah. It really, when you said about Alberto that he touched your soul, the same was during the night. I just couldn't hear it because it was just going through. It's like what you said. You could hear the feelings and everything, and going through. Even now that I'm talking about, I really make.
Can you explain what happened? The situation. Can you explain the situation, please?
I was sleeping in this place, and for coincidence, under my window, they were preparing. They were slaughtering the ducks and the goose for the weekends, and this man was was basically carrying this killing one by one, and so I could feel the fear of the animal when the screaming of the animal when he was take it out of the cage, and after he would slaughter, I could feel also the screaming of him dying, and this was repeating one by one through all the night, and I just couldn't. I couldn't hear it anymore. Nothing I could do to don't hear it. So I was trying my best not to hear it, but was so my thought was like, this is so unnecessary, and I really felt sorry for the man who was doing that, and like you teach us, I try to connect with him to elevate its soul. And yes, but it was very learning experience for me, because I just thought, suddenly I thought, this is not, now what you teach us, I'm just now know that it's not necessary, it's optional, so there is no need for that anymore. And yes, I don't know why I had that experience, but it definitely, it was very strong. And it just gave me the strength to make a change, because we in daily life we don't aware of that. We're not aware, because in daily life everything is normal, but things happening around us, and when you become aware, and after your teaching, you just think, this is not necessary, so why continuous? There is no need for this anymore. So you naturally want to step up to a different level of living, to take all this pain. And I think, okay, this was animals, you know, but then you can feel anyone has pain of any any living being or human beings or anything that you like you said, everything's got a soul. So like you said, you know, everything is a living creature. So you start to become more understanding of the fact that you know, we are all one and we're all equal. So this is not necessary anymore. You don't wanna hurt yourself, and you don't wanna hurt anyone else. So this I think was my lesson behind. And even you know, it's very strange. Even now that I talked, you asked this question, it really touched my heart. You know, so I can really feel the connection that we have between each others, and we have between all of us. Even yesterday, when you said about 2 days ago, when you said about Alberto touching your heart, I mean, in my experience, I could feel in his voice something really special. That so the pain of these ducks, the same. I don't know. We got a common. I don't know if call him strength or feelings. It's in all of us and unite us. Yes. So yeah. So then, for you think. Why create pain? Why create suffering? Why creating all this injustice? Yeah, when we just going to damage, you know, more ourselves or the others, when this can be is necessary and can be finished, and could be, you know, we can have a better place where we don't have this, we don't go this low, we don't suffer this much, you know, we all can have a better place. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
What was important, the situation with this, because I watched how Stephanie got disturbed, how she actually got immensely defensive. This was because in so many ways she watched this guy putting a hand out, getting a duck out of a box, more or less beheading them, and the same hand which killed then gave the duck to somebody to have food. It's not a remote control process that you kill somewhere else and then you put in a supermarket nobody sees. This is what was missed, that the same hand that he went to the box to get the animal with all the shouting and howling, cutting the head off the duck or whatever, then feathered it and gave it to a man or a woman who sold it to become a food. What we're trying to cut off is the first part. But what we want to add to is the second part. We want to give, but without the physicality. This is why man can kill and don't create peace, because he's done it so habitually. This is the problem. This is where we are running into problem as human beings. This is the biggest problem for us. We cannot sort out. Because we are so confused, we cannot understand, is that the same hand as is giving us the food is killing too for it. Then we do the same with another being. This is where it comes. We have to understand the difference. This is where we as a human race have to evolve. Now, what do we do? How do we come and change position? How can we change? Millions of years of habits of doing what we've done, and it's so normal that we don't care anymore. We just call for a war, we get 250,000 and we all march into Iraq to kill more in the name of peace. This is the problem, because if we have the soul, if we understand the process, we never get involved in the beginning. We go and see what's the needs of the guys there, and we try to find a process that we can be part of it without the war of it. We become man of peace. Now, does this need preaching? Does it need to bring a president to sign a peace treaty? Or we can do it ourselves? To what extent we are going to is to what extent we understand the truth. Do we need to extend to understanding of our own soul? Or do I have in the next teachings to go inside the structure of the soul and open it up for you to see how your soul works and how it looks? I have already explained how your soul works and how it looks inside it. I explain it to you another time, one more time, that you understand. In your structure of your life, you have a very simple point. And that is, in a simple way, if I can put it, this. You have the brain, and you have the soul. It's the thing inside. If I take this away, and in so many ways redraw it, in a way I draw it in a totally different way. And that is, if I open the shape of your soul, or the shape of the central energy, then something strange will come up. This is your fear emotion. So, if you look at it, this is the strength on a field of the plasma of your soul. In matter state, it manifests itself here, in the gans of the liquid of the matter. In the field, the strength is there. It is with this that in a space you understand if somebody is to fear of, or condition that you have to be careful with. Because in a space, this does not come with you. I made man in the image of myself. I'm the creator of your soul. Soul has an essence and emotion, and it has a field. If I go back to other teachings, if I expand and open that soul, go on book number 2 or 3, or book number 1, we say hydrogen, we say copper. But you remember those little dangly things, the fields which are coming out? This is pain, this is joy. There are the fields which within the capture of the plasma of the soul, or internal structure, have a balance point where this was the fear. Now you see the structure of the soul of the man. So simply can be defined, and so simply can be explained. Do you need a priest, or a mullah, or a rabbi, or a high priest, or whatever to explain this to you? Then you have to expand it. Then you have to allow the soul of the man to open up, and then you become the man of universe. To what extent and by how much we can expand and extend our field is according to what we allow of our soul to increase. Which part of this makes you a cult maker, so that you understand your own business? I hear some people say, he started with the physics and now he's gone into the soul. Because I had to bring you from somewhere that you can understand it. I had to explain to you that you become part of it, that you can develop it. You have to make it. Now I can ask Rick, he shows you. If you were just made of water and nothing else, you would have been a hollow center, you're just a plasma field. But you're not. You make a sphere, you make a soul, you make exactly what the universe is made of. And then if you can increase the fields of that center ball beyond the physicality, because you absorb so much, you can bring the rest to be part of you. For those of you who got a problem, how can I increase my soul to extent? Make yourself cover up these balls with some GANs in it and see what you need to add without actually putting something inside it from outside, that the diameter of that center ball increases, that it pushes the liquid out and it bypasses the boundary and it covers you. I received a very, very interesting text from Arizona. I'll read it to you. You might understand. You got to understand, we have somebody extremely mature in level of the soul in Arizona. And so he understands and feels a lot. This is what he wrote to us this morning, and I was reading it to Armin. He said, We started a spaceship reactor with a ceramic ball today. He goes on, he says, the 4 reactors have been running on battery power for almost 3 days now and generating some very strange fields. I cupped my hand today outside the reactors, and almost immediately my hand heated up and started to sweat. I stayed with it for a little while as the energy did not feel dangerous, but felt like it was letting me know of its strength. After I pulled away, I sensed that the fields could be as strong as I wished them to be, but they were letting me know their strength. We currently have 4 star formation reactors setups running to test out the motors and to understand their working. It carries on with a very nice writing. It goes, I call my disclosure project where I put emotional hemoglobin with silica GaNs more than 2, and in an effort to create the space where extraterrestrial of the light might find safe space to join with us. Sitting in this field feels very emotionally strong and opens a space where it is easy to fall into the state of imagination. This has been running for 2 days and is powered by 3 magnet plugged into the wall, one of which we used the gas of hydrogen with the other 2 coils. Testing is accelerating. So we see people, how we have managed, and we manage to do things, and now we have systems that can even touch our emotion, touch our feeling. We have become so caring that now we are making spaces where we think it can invite the others who understand this feeling to join us. We are evolving. Some faster, some slower. Some will have a lot of problem to cross this line, because it means to gain a lot of confidence. Some will have bigger problem, and that is, once I cross it, what then? It's exactly the same situation as we had before. I made all these ganses. What then? Do we want to use these ganses we made to create a new condition that allow our soul to expand in the strength beyond the physicality that we can reach to others? Or do we associate ourselves with a telephone number? This is the strangest thing. This is amazingly the strangest thing. What are we going to do? And to what extent we are allowing ourselves to step into the next step? We allow our knowledge to extend to the next knowledge. Are you trying to show us something, Rick?
Can you see it?
Yes, this is one of the earlier video things with the reactors that I had set up at that time. I'm not sure this is a longer video. I'm just trying to find some of the parts of it that show what's going on here. So.
in one of these videos, we bring it in, you will see the establishment of the center core. These are nearly 2-3 years old. There's so much videos around being taken by different people that we got to bring it. We got to see to what extent we understand ourselves. But in a way, for the first time, you can see the creation of the fields and the empty space in the middle, and understanding of the creation of the man soul. If we could extend fields that from, let's say, the 2 white balls, we could add more to the black, then the black would have become to encircle the whole of the other 2. There is somebody's video on. There's microphone on. It sounds like Sandor.
I have been muted.
Maybe it's the tape from the past when it was shown. So now we understand. We see the operation. You see, this reactors start running now. This is an old video from Rick in his workshops. And you see these reactors are full. But inside, they create a hollow space inside. The operation is no different, because we don't change the material, we only change the field strength, and then we see the creation of it. I'm sure the team will find the ones which are clear through transparent course, or some of you have it. You can show it. Are there any questions? Rick, can you hear me?
Yes, Mr. Keshe. I just have so many things on my screen here, it's hard to get through here. There's a lot of comments and chat, but I'm not sure if I'm seeing the right questions here. Let me find a question in their Q&A here. There's a number of questions there. Well, Camille asks, what do you mean when you say expand the soul using GANs? She says, I would say no, the soul is expanded through your consciousness intent.
No, we didn't tell you that to use GANs. We explained to you how one GANs in the system receives because it's matching from another, or from its environment. Is for you to find out how you can increase the level or the strength of your soul. As I said many times, when we die or the process of going through a death, we start gathering the pieces, the soul of the matter state or physical part of the body, to join the, what I call, center point, the inner part, that collectively is in one shape, in one go. You can't hold gases in your hand and say my soul increasing my soul. It has to have an element of emotion to it. And that only comes when the energy absorbed through the heart of the man or through the soul of the man, as it passes the boundaries of the physicality of the creation. If you learn, you start learning in a very typical way how to absorb energy. I explained to it last time. Loving, giving unconditionally, you'll find a solution. You'll find you can add to it very rapidly. You know, the way, as I explained, actors build themselves up to cry. You can build up energy to elevate your soul, and with it, expand it, that it passes the boundary. And then you decide how long you're going to keep this, that I can cover the whole this and the whole lot of it in one go, or I just do enough for me to be happy I've expanded and I can do it. Any other question? By the way, before I forget, this afternoon is the teaching by Charles regarding how to feed yourself with water, with the way he's done it, the way he has evolved and developed his way. And well, some of you might find it interesting because it's the same as what we said, the hand to feed and the hand to kill. If you can feed yourself without killing, this could be one of the temporarily mid options till we develop to the point that we don't even need a liquid.
Okay, Mr. Keshe, Brett has a question. He says, I put my hands out, then I face them out, and I feel like a barrier. What am I feeling?
What? Oh, this is Brett. Well, Brett, we don't know.
It's Brett Headley, actually, not the other Brett. But,
can you explain again, please?
Well, he says, I put my hands out, then I face them out, and I feel like a barrier. What am I feeling? So
I don't know what you put your hand out, in what field you put it out.
Mm-hmm.
Or is it the strength of your own emotion you put out?
For example, people put their hands out like that in front of a fire, and they, you know, you feel the force of the fire.
I'll tell you something very interesting.
Like that.
Yeah. Let me tell you something very interesting. Armin and I, we were somewhere this afternoon, and something very strange happened. Armin got attracted to this dog. He was fascinated by it. He said to him, it's blind. The dog is blind. And then we were hanging around, and Armin started feeding it. It was very, very thin. It's like a Alsatian dog, big. And we were discussing why it's got cataract, why it doesn't want to see. I was explaining to Armin that it has a cataract because usually when we get old, why that's the time we get cataract, because we know we are physically going to be having problems. Our soul is aware of, or our energy of the body is aware of what is to come. So I don't want to see these disabilities. I don't want to see I cannot walk properly. I don't want to see I cannot hold things. So in olden days was a way of creating cataract. Cataract came through the emotion. We see, we can understand the whole process now very well, how cataract comes. And so we came to the conclusion that it does not want to see because it's getting old. It didn't look fit. And meanwhile, we asked the owner, how old is it? He said, guess. What? Any of you would like to guess how old the dog was with such a wide cataract on both eyes? Can anybody write? Anybody would like to guess? A big Alsatian dog. Do you read anything? Rick?
3 and 14.
2.5 years old. And the owner explained to us in a very simple way. It's too hot. He does not want to eat at all. To me, this place is not a place for such a dog with so much hair, so he's continuously panting. He doesn't want to see his own suffering. At the age of 2.5, is it wise getting cataract where they're usually at the peak of their lives in Europe? Police uses them. We see them next to them. Have we chosen, or do we choose the fields of the vision or our physicality according to what we feel the environment gives us and what we expect to receive from it? Why should a 2.5 year dog have such a white cataract totally. And it was simple. It's too hot for him. He cannot breathe. He does not want to eat. And strange enough, he was eating from the hand of Arman like nothing. Do or does our soul decide the vision and the strength and the field around us, how we feel it, or we want to feel it? Any other question? How much time do we have left?
Approximately 15 minutes, I guess, until the 3-hour
3 hours.
mark.
Okay, we better call it a day. But please, please, let's start moving in a direction that you understand, not way. We try to extend your knowledge. If you have somebody's microphone is open, please. If we try to extend it, we're trying, not all of you would like to feel and comprehend at the same strength and the same speed. I cannot go any slower because the knowledge is so simple, the understanding is simple. It's us who have to understand and to extend. And in so many ways, if number of us, thousands and thousands of us which listen to these teachings, try to take from their soul to give for the peace of humanity and just let the soul extend, let the energy of the existence extend with a wish of love, then we can reach each other to come to literally to cover this planet. We're getting to the stage, a lot of people are thinking, understanding of the soul is so easy. Now we have to reach hand in hand with each soul that we can cover this planet. Oceans are no size to the extent of the fields of the soul of the man. Thank you very much for today. And I hope we learn more. And I hope we learn a lot more from each other. And on Monday, Tuesday, we announce this next step of the peace process. Thank you very much. Don't forget this afternoon is all to do with feeding, and our Chinese colleagues teach us.
Okay, very good, Mr. Keshe. Thank you for that. And thank you for today's teaching. Is there anything else to add to the information for today?
Yes, Mary Vu is here, and she wanted to present a letter from the Earth Council.
Actually, that's from the student, a KF student.
A letter to the Earth Council from a KF student.
Oh, hi everyone. Yes, this is Mary. Actually, this is the letter from a KF student that sent to President Trump. So if it's okay, we can share it. Or would you like to check it over first, Rick?
Yeah, it'd be good to check over with Mr. Keshe first. I don't think it's appropriate to share it right now unless he okays it.
Yes, maybe we should do that first.
Yes, definitely. And we're kind of ending the workshop for now, so we have more of a break, I guess, for the intermission. But perhaps we could share it this afternoon. That might be possible.
Yes, thank you.
Or in the next meeting, perhaps.
Yes, that would be fine.
Then
yes.
we can look at it in more detail.
Yes, thanks, Rick.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, we'll end our broadcast for now. This is the Blueprint for Peace for Humanity, Day 5, the morning session for Friday, July 7th, 2017. Thank you everyone for attending, and stay tuned for the afternoon session coming up in about an hour and 10 minutes at the it's 2 o'clock CEST time. Okay, we'll end the live stream.